now. Thanks for a great competition after this game. For those who are qualified for the playoffs, we will have a meeting about 5 minutes after the last draw finishes this game. 2 players per team on those qualified teams by the officials pool. All right? With that, thanks for a great week. Guys, it's yours. Good to go.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Denver Curling Club for the 2025 USCA Mixed National Championships. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. draw. This is the last round-robin draw, and there's a lot to be decided on the ice. Some of these teams are in the playoffs, some of these teams are out of the playoffs, and some of these teams are trying to figure that out. Today's matchup on Sheet B, we have Team Tobkin out of the Midwest Curling Association. These curlers specifically, I believe, are all out of Illinois. Against Team Kizlyk, which is the Middle America local champion. Specifically in this matchup, if Team Kizlyk wins and gets a little bit of help on Sheet C, they become part of a 3-way tie for 2 spots. And I believe their DSC is good enough that it should put them into the playoffs, but first things first, they have to win. For Team Tobkin, they got their first win yesterday, I believe, and would love to finish the week with a couple of wins.
Yeah, Aaron. Yep. Okay, Wolf.
Pretty good start here for both teams. That one just slightly over curls and will expose itself. So Derek's going to have Dina chase after it with control wave. A little tight out of hands. We've got Aaron Johnston on the brush.
Yep. Watch the roll.
Removes the rock and gets the big roll over to the wing. Not a bad result.
Let's come down, corner. Tap 8.
This being the end of round robin play. This is their 5th game on the ice, plus the pre-event practice. And at this point, most of these skips have figured out not just what the ice is doing, but what their team is doing, what they're successful at, and what their struggles might be. And so most of these skips are calling games at this point that just play to those strengths to give them the best chance of winning. So if we see any calls here and there that we're like, oh, that seems a little interesting, it's probably because they figured something out at this point. from what I've seen this week, both these teams are pretty comfortable with a lot of rocks in play. They'll lean on the draws and the angles and try and change things around when the skips get into the hack.
Okay, a little tight. Yep, really gotta go line.
Makes for fun, entertaining games with lots of aggressive play and numbers getting posted everywhere.
Whoa.
Good line on this one from Aaron, but quite a bit light, so it comes up as a staggered guard scenario. Not great for the team that has hammer, but they are setting shot in a pretty good position. Given that, though, Tate's going to try that drawdown again. They're lighter than they were hoping for, but a pretty good result overall. Tate Tobkin is joined by Kaylee and Scott Meyer, as well as Idle Moran. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Okay, like better.
Their coach is Colin Ritkers, who's a former DCC member, actually, coming back home for the week.
Let's keep the weight up. Stay on your left, Sam. This is pretty good. Whoa. Right off.
Derek Kizlyk is joined by Lucy Bradshaw, Aaron Johnston, Dina Rosenberry. These players have played together quite a bit over the last couple of years.
Try this. Just draw. Yep. Right off. Okay. Go if you can. Yes, if you can. Yes, if you can.
Joined here in the booth right now by Tim Murphy, local legend. Man curls more than anybody else I know, including myself.
Whoa.
He's been putting in the time.
I don't think that's right. It's an addiction.
It is. Tim has some inside knowledge. He's played with various members of the Kizlyk team over the last couple of years in different formats.
You like this? Okay.
Well, all I could say is they like to have fun on the ice.
Right.
I think that's the key to their success, staying loose and having fun.
Yep.
Just forward.
So you saw Kizlyk tapping his knee there. He's got a little different weight calling strategy for takeout. So he flips half.
Aaron.
The knee is
Whoa.
So typically your hip is low, so.
Whoa.
This did not do anything they expected. That one took off really early. They tried to save it and then realized if it ended up making contact with that yellow there, it wasn't going to be good for them, so they let it go. Derek is probably going to pull that rock to the back and take a look at it. A couple of good shots there from Team Tobkin. They've got a pretty good stagger in the front. And while Kizlyk's sitting 1, they're sitting 2 and 3. Tate's going to try and have Kaylee hit this just a hair high side. Control weight. That should kill shot rock and leave those yellows clustered up front.
Yep.
Very nice shot.
Really nice. It does drag and kind of clip the back one, but ends up leaving, I think, 3 yellows all sitting shot, with red sitting 4 and 5. So The middle is quite open, so Derek's not terribly worried at this point, but really good result there for Team Tobkin. Lucy now with her last.
Tina. Time's good. Oh, Aaron. Time's good. Yep.
Trying to get it to curl to get the roll inside, but it'll just kind of nose it. Oh, a little soft flop. Leaves Tobkin sitting probably 1 and 2, it looks like.
I don't know. Tobkin might be sitting 1. That back yellow. Well, from the overhead camera, it's difficult to judge there.
Pretty good opportunity here, though, to put some pressure on Derek. He makes this draw around. Derek will have the kind of thin angle slash there, but that's no gimme, depending on how deep this one goes. And anytime you can make the other skip draw under pressure in the first end, you're feeling pretty good about it.
So where's your ideal spot on this one, Sean? Do you like it on the pin or just a little high?
I think like touching T-line is really good, and once we're by those guards in red, make sure we bury it as much as possible. But still in front of the tee.
Looks a little warm. Maybe we'll grab there and come down.
Yeah, they're hoping it hits the brakes. Sweepers think it's pretty juicy. Looks like it's going to be down to that back yellow. And just skates by that one. Really good line. I think that's the exact line you want it on, just 4 feet shorter.
So what do you like for Daryl here? The draw in, or would you ever look at doing that double on those 2 yellows up top? Is there any benefit to that?
So if he ever hit the top leftmost yellow, a little center line side, there's a potential, well, even a quad on the yellows. You could potentially get all the yellows moving and leave yourself sitting 4. So I think if it's me, that's probably the shot I'm playing, with the miss being a little too low and you roll in for shot. That said, that's, from my experience, that's not Derek's game at all. So Derek's going to go ahead and play the draw here, try and set up a deuce that way. I will say, as a skip, if you are playing in the first end and you think you might have to throw a draw with your last, it's never a bad idea to throw a draw with your first just to get the practice in. This one's hanging a bit more. They're going to go, weight's really good, but it's just going to sit about half open.
I couldn't tell if they got a little rub off of the guard there. I don't think so.
No, I think they got just a hair underneath it, but Tate is going to have a chance to chase this. The problem is there's a lot of jam risk over there. I think he almost wants to hit this really thin, pick it over the top, and then use the red on the left as a catcher if he can. He could also say, let's jam it on the back, because if we do that, that means our shooter's staying there, and there's a risk that Derek jams it as well. The Ice House mics are super crisp this morning. We're picking up commentary from all kinds of sheets right now, which is great. Sweepers are on this early to hold the line, and they just get it by the guard. Does jam on the ones in the back, but leaves them sitting at least 1, maybe 2.
I think 2. 2
That-
yellow there.
The unfortunate part about it is it's a pretty straightforward double. There is a jam risk for Derek, but as long as he hits it kind of right in the gap between those two, this could be a fairly large end for red, kind of coming out of nowhere. Just one of those things with rock placement. I think if Tate hits that hit a little low with a little less weight, or hits it a little thinner, it doesn't necessarily leave Derek this shot. So at this level for these athletes, every little inch matters. Rock is on its way. Inside sweeper's on it to hold for him. Now they're switching. Ooh. They actually hit the outside yellow first there, and that caused it to jam on the red. So it will be 1 red. So Kizlyk does score, but Team Tobkin feeling pretty lucky to not give up a bundle there for sure.
It looked like as it was coming down the sheet that it was going to make contact with the right one, and it almost as though the sweepers pushed that out just a little bit at the end.
Yeah, I will say, this is the point in the week where, especially as the speeds come up and the edge has come off the rocks, those hits are running a little bit straighter, especially in the 8-foot. If you get into the 4-foot, like we saw with Tate's, they'll start to curl. But in that 8-foot track, that kind of weight, they tend to run pretty good. I think maybe Derek and Lucy just got fooled by that a little bit, but still a score of 1. Not a bad start by any means.
Looking at sheet D, it looks like Team Falco scored 3 in that first end against Stolt.
Big bundle over there. That's a key game. Team Falco has already locked up the 1 seed for their pool, but Team Stolt has to win that game in order to stay in playoff contention. There's a few scenarios otherwise, but that's a must-win game as far as they're concerned.
Sheet A, Barajas got 1 in the first end against Sherry.
And that's another game for the same reasons. Barajas needs to win in order to have their chance at the playoffs as well. So
Yep, you gotta go.
both Stolt and Barajas kind of battling for the last spot in that pool. Pool A.
Straight. Yep. Both of you.
There's a nice center guard.
The other team.
Split the middle. Love it. On sheet C, Team Workin took 1 in the first against Team Roth. That's also a key matchup there. Workin is already into the playoffs, but Roth is in a position where they need to win or they might lose their fate based on DSC, depending on what happens on this game on B. So a lot of variable action across the sheets this morning, which is great. You love to see it. Good weight here. Just a little bit more curl than they expected in that spot, and it clipped that guard, pushing it off the center line. So Derek will elect to put that one back and make his draw around here. I will say, watching these sheets on the stream, that spot, that intern, righty intern coming home, at the right weight, those rocks are snapping pretty hard. And it's something we've seen on that side kind of throughout the year, but it has certainly been accentuated with the sharper rocks. So this is another example. You see Derek having Lucy sweep early for line, even though it's still way out there because of how much it cuts over there. Little light, but they do get it around for another guard.
So optimally, Sean, where do you like to set up the double guard for the hard steel? Is it 3 and 2, or?
If I'm going hard steel, which I don't think, for clarification, is the case here, but I like a tight one first because it makes the come around from the other team a little bit harder, and then I like the 1 second. You want as much separation between your guards as possible. But I do like throwing the tight one first to put a little more pressure on the team with hammer.
Hard.
They're more likely to put a rock back 4, and then you have something to sit on later.
Gotcha.
We're gonna.
I played with Kizlyk a few times, and when he's going for that strategy, he will tell the thrower, "Give me a 2," and let the sweepers decide if it's going to be a 1 or a 3.
Right.
Let's go forward.
Takes a little stress off the thrower in that 8th end trying to do that hard steal for a win.
Definitely, I think that's absolutely the way to play it. Gives you a little more margin for error, and it makes it more of a team shot at that point. The one thing you can't afford to do is hog it or be in, so put it right there in the middle.
Lucy, whoa, no, yeah. Whoa, Tina.
Got our IT support, Mr. Culbertson, reaching out saying we need a little more mic, so hopefully that sounded better.
No low side roll on that one, but a good hit.
You like ripping or?
So what do you like here, a little hit and roll and recover, or hit and swing out to the wing?
So Tate was kind of asking his team what they wanted, and their initial reaction was peel, but I think he was kind of leaning towards this. I would love to not go undercover here. I would actually love to like flop it open.
Yeah.
That's the more conservative option. The more aggressive option would be to flop low, but
All the way hard. Hard.
this looks like it's by. And they do get the flop low. That's about as well made as you can make it.
Yep, Tina.
So that result from Team Tobkin forced Derek to kind of play the peel there, which is actually exactly what Tate wanted. So it's kind of playing into his hands quite nicely there.
So in that situation, do you like the peel or the run back?
I think they were trying kind of for either the double peel or the run back, right?
Okay.
Play it a little thicker. They ended up catching it a little too thin for what they wanted, but this is going to give Tate a chance to draw to the wing and sit 2 and really put the pressure on Kizlyk as he starts to set up a deuce. Sweepers are going hard just to make sure it's in, and they do get it there, nice and even with the other one, so certainly no doubles at this point.
Yeah, nice shot.
Yeah. Now that we're on to Vice Rocks, Derek's going to try and get Lucy to roll to the center, force play back to the middle. Hopefully give himself a shot at a double later.
Yep, right to it. Right to it.
Squares it up, but does not get the roll in. Those are definitely kind of inside-out hits, are still moving quite a bit there. Tate's going to see if he can find a way to use that shot, either by cornering on it in front of it or just sucking around a piece and using it as a distraction. This one's certainly a little bit heavier than the last. Sweepers are just gonna hope that it breaks. Just through.
Now, in that situation, could you have tried some directional sweeping to push it over for a piece, or was it maybe a little too heavy for that?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly, if you call it early enough, you could probably do that to catch a piece of the red and keep it around. I think the sweepers thought it was all there. I don't know that I heard him say like it's through kind of thing.
Sure.
So at that point, it had a long way to curl. So I think Tate was probably thinking like, well, we'll just see what happens. Again, worst case, you kind of knew that Derek was going to play the run, and odds are it ends up being a peel like that. So you're probably going to get another shot at this. And for Kaylee, this is an opportunity to throw the exact same shot she just did, just make it a little better, give it to the sweepers. So
It's like get a little tighter broom there than the last one, but maybe it's pretty close now.
yeah, she kind of adjusted him out, but you're right, his initial broom was definitely a little tighter. Tate's asking for a weight call here. It's still all there, the sweepers say, but a little better was the indication. It does just rub the red. I think that one had the right weight. If it had gotten by, it would have been good. But nonetheless, they are sitting 2, and there's no easy double. So Derek's going to kind of play the one in the middle, try and roll over to the cluster on the side. If he makes this well, there's a chance that Tate leaves him a double on his next. Good sweep there from Aaron, just a little bit of a flop. Plenty of weight. So Tate will try and hit this on the center line side and create some space. Looking around at the other sheets. Got a couple of sheets with a handful of rocks in play and a couple of sheets that look like ours with a little bit sparse, so no one mixing it up too much, right? 3 1s in the first end. Indicates a few tight games. Sweepers are on this right out of his hand. This is going to overcurl.
Unfortunate.
Definitely. They do remove the shot rock, leaving them shot, but exposes their own in a sense that as long as Derek can remove this one and roll to the middle, he'll have Team Tobkin forced. Objective number 1, remove the rock. You would ideally love to keep your shooter to mitigate the blank, but
I was surprised to see no blanks out there this morning for first end. Have you seen that much in this event with the mixed setup?
There's certainly been a handful of blanks throughout the week. I will say a lot of the skips here are comfortable kind of getting into it right off the bat. And I think some of it's a product of the mixed format and their familiarity with their teams and their skill sets of their teams. Some of it is maybe a little bit of kind of just the style of play and
Sure.
how it's gotten them here, but there was, I think, one game that I saw had 3 blanks, but other than that, maybe 1 or 2 a game. Good hit there. Big roll. Looks like it might be just off, which does give Tate the option to blank if he wants it. Tim, as somebody who's playing down for a mix next year, are you taking notes this week?
No. My curling season's done, so my brain's checked out.
We're just here so we don't get fined. Sweepers are on it early. That is probably the cutest blank attempt you will ever see. Tickled the rock, but since it was barely biting to begin with, it was just enough. That is an ultimate flex from Tate Tobkin. I'd be terrified if I were Derek Kizlyk right now. Checking some of the action from around the sheets. Team Sherry on sheet A gets their one back, and that's a tie game 1-1 heading into the third. Team Roth managed a deuce in their second end with hammer, so they take a 2-1 lead over Team Workin. And I believe it was a blank in the second end by the Stoltz, so they will retain hammer in the third, down 3-0 on sheet D.
Well, mentioned blank, and we've got two blanks in this second end across the boards.
Bada bing, bada boom. Those were, I will say, B and D were the cleaner sheets, if you will. A and C had a few more rocks in play, so some slightly different approaches.
Okay. It's a little out.
Is Dina off with the first rock? Looks a little heavy.
Yeah, it's checking. Just
Sweepers watching it. Got to give credit to Kaylee Meyer on that one. That was really instinctive to get them on it right away, and great job to the sweepers for holding it on that line, making sure they made that hit. That would have been, you don't want to flash that one. That one's definitely unfortunate. You'd much rather hit and stick even, so great job holding that line there. This one also seems to be cruising. Call was a corner guard, but definitely going to slide in.
I will say it's pretty common in league play to see second, third end being a little bit quicker than the first end. But typically at events like this, where you've got two practices beforehand, the ice is generally up to speed by that point.
Yeah, the conditions, too, have been pretty consistent this week, which I think is really nice. Talking with most of the athletes, they haven't seen a ton of variation. It's been predictable.
Yeah, you really got to go.
Which is nice, because we've had some huge weather swings here. I think we were at 7 degrees early in the event, and we had 6 inches of snow the last couple of days.
Yep. Sun is back out, though, today at least, which is nice.
Gotta love Colorado in the springtime.
Yeah. Tough miss there for Dina. She just tied on the release, and Aaron wasn't quite able to save it, so. Tate's going to try and draw on down to that back one.
Really tight. Yes, I think so. Really tight, really tight.
Tate letting the sweepers know it is inside.
We're off it. Up.
The over curl is not the end of the world. Just don't want to leave a double. They do get it on. There is a thin double, but it is a tough one, so Derek's not going to mess with it quite yet.
Control.
I believe we had Croy Nürnberger in the feature game last night making cross-house doubles like he was handing out candy on Halloween.
Yep.
That one just absolutely took off there. They do remove the rock, but also kill their one in the back, so that will leave Team Tobkin a chance to split the house here. This will be Scott's first rock of the end. He had a couple of draws in the last end, so hopefully he has good feel. Sweepers initially thought that one was a little heavy and then a little light, and works out to be just back tee. It's pretty solid. Good separation there on those rocks. Nice hit. Big roll, though, from Aaron Johnston.
Looks like a biter back there.
It is biting, but it is second shot, so Tate's not going to be overly worried about it. Give Scott a chance to throw the same shot he just threw. Lob one out there to the wing.
So we get a tee time here. Or hog to hog
It's gotta be full 12.
time.
Just full 12. Line's great. Great to my girls.
It was a 14-1.
Looks like it's going to be just in front of the tee. Not a ton of sweeping on that one, so pretty smooth. This is the kind of ice, especially with the snow yesterday, we've seen if you have a broom down and are able to heavy clean a rock, it will go infinitely further. So with a heavy clean, 15s or tee, no problem. But without anything down, it's pretty much 14. So quite a big difference. This one rolls in a little more successfully, is sitting shot rock. This will force Team Tate to hit this, Team Tobkin, sorry, to hit this one. I will say the nice thing about having ice conditions like that with the heavy clean is it gives, like we were talking about earlier, it gives a margin to the thrower where they don't have to be perfect, right? Like you've got quite a bit of distance where you can be a little bit light and the sweepers can still do what they need. We've seen 15-5, 15-7 being swept all the way to tee, so.
Or if it's a little bit heavy, you know, sweepers stay off, it gives a chance for that rock to check up. And
Exactly.
grab a little bit.
Nice square hit there. A little bit of a roll in, but Derek's going to try and make a play for the double here now, or at least the hit and roll over to it.
He's got to turn a little harder if you want the same turn.
Getting a little later in the end, so he's thinking he's got to do something to move both rocks. Dina's on this early to hold for line. Hits one and makes contact with the second one. but doesn't quite hit it hard enough to remove it from play. So Kizlyk will be sitting 1, and Tate's going to have to do something about it, but this is a chance for them to sit 2 after this as well still. This is going to work out really well for them. Good hit, gets under the other one, and rolls back to middle, creating good separation.
Really nice shot.
That was really good. The other challenge here is hitting this one the way Derek wants to hit it to roll over, risks jamming on his own. So he's got to be very careful that he's either thick or thin on this one to get it over or under.
That little catcher back there is... it's there.
And you can hear kind of Lucy talking him through what's better, right? Is it better to go thin with down weight or thick with up weight? This one is curling early. It is going to be a low side contact. And just rolls out. I think hitting low side there probably wasn't the end of the world. You just needed a little thicker to stick that shooter. So with that, Tate's going to have a draw to split the house. And Derek will have to pull something very aggressive to not give up the deuce here. Sweepers are on this immediately out of hand. Kaylee's coming out to help. Got to get at least half 12. They do get the bite, although I'm not sure it's enough to sit second shot. So Derek will chase shot rock here on the wing. Key here for Derek is to make sure he sticks his shooter. He cannot afford to roll out here. Tate will have a tap for 2. They had the sweepers kind of going back and forth there. It ended up just hanging a little too high, so we'll leave Kizlyk sitting 1, but Tate's got a chance to really anything backline to hack is probably going to be enough to remove this one.
How much do you see?
Maybe a quarter, not even. Quarter. I think it's this way.
Take a glance over on sheet C. There's almost 10 rocks in play right now, and the end's not over yet, so both teams over there not afraid to mix it up. So Tate looking at the intern here. Try and just get it with space weight, just punch it. About 6 inches should be enough. Sweepers are on it.
Hard! All the way, guys! All the way, it's really nice. Go! All the way, one of you.
It's a nice shot.
Great shot. I was actually thinking about it. They could have played the split there on their own yellow too and achieved the same thing. So
So with that scenario, I would think these splits a little more challenging than
definitely.
back.
Yeah, I think the call they made is always the right call, but the miss is if you ever do clip your own, you still have a chance.
Yep.
And so I think that was beautifully played by them.
We got our 1 minute break. We have the one more end, and then we've got our fourth end break.
Good deuce there for Team Tobkin. Kizlyk will have hammer in the fourth, but we'll be chasing 2-1.
So during the break in competition, what kind of snack or is there any special item you enjoy?
I do love the applesauce pouches. They go down easy, and it's a lot of quick sugar that's easily digestible and gets in your bloodstream pretty quickly. I'm also a big string cheese person because there's no mess.
There you go.
I'm also a monster, and I eat my string cheese in bites rather than peels. So tells you everything you know about me. Basically a psychopath.
I can confirm that.
Update on sheet A. Team Barajas. Jesus made 2 good draws. Got the deuce. So they take a 3-1 lead over Team Sherry
On this
on
line, we
A.
gotta be pretty tight.
Sherry has hammer coming home in the
Gotta be tight
fourth.
on this line.
Still waiting to see what happens with the cluster of rocks on C between Workin and Roth.
All right, I go.
Well, Team Falco this year has a unique snack during the break. Their coach has got a charcuterie plate set up for them, crackers, cheese, and salami. And they seem to be really enjoying that.
I can get behind a good cheese plate. All right, so on sheet C, all those rocks in play results in a steal of 1 for Team Roth. Evan had a draw for 1 after Croy made a pretty good hit to remove their shot rock. But it just hung out a little too much and was second shot by maybe a couple inches. So Evan will have hammer coming home in the fourth, though, down 3-1. And on sheet D, Team Falco stole 3 more over the Stolt team from Minnesota. So that gives Falco a 6-0 lead. Stolt has hammer in the fourth. As we mentioned, this is kind of a little bit of an urgent situation for the Stolt team. So they're going to look to get really aggressive over there and try and manufacture some points.
It's gotta be top 4.
How was the playoff structure here? Is it the top 2 from each
Yes,
team
yes,
advances
yes.
to the semis, and then the next 2 advance to quarters?
No. So the top seed from each pool advances to the semis. And then the 2 seed from Pool A will play the 3 seed from Pool B.
Gotcha.
And vice versa
Okay.
in the quote-unquote quarterfinals.
So basically top 3 from each pool moves on.
Yeah, up until this year, this format was a top 2 from each pool moved on. What USCA has done is kind of aligning with what you see more on the WCF spectrum, is that there's a 16 playoff with abbreviated quarters and then a semis and a final.
Gotcha.
It does mean that half the field makes the playoffs, which gets a little more interesting on the weekend.
Curl.
A couple of good shots from Eigel there. Dina with a great first draw. Second one just kind of rubs the red, hangs out a little bit, so Tate will look at an opportunity to have Scott come into that 4-foot.
Just through the house.
Looking for space weight here, try and punch that red out, maybe get a little low side roll. Sweepers are on this one right at hand. It is going to over curl from the called shot, but there is some alternative options here. And punch the one in the top 4.
Still might be a biter back there.
Still hanging on for sure, but certainly a good result. Aaron will have to try and replace that one top 4.
I'm going to need to step away for some ice prep duties, so I'm going to try to get Lila to come over and
Love it.
give you a little.
A youth perspective?
Yes.
I love it.
All right. See you in a little bit.
Just a touch heavy there, a little wide from Aaron, so does get into the 4-foot, taps their shot rock. Unfortunately for them, does leave a hit opportunity here. It's kind of there's a double there, but it's a tough double and you'd certainly lose your shooter. So nose hit or even a hair low probably doesn't hurt Team Tobkin here. Mitigates the exposure and gives them in a good spot. We got Lila Farwell joining us on the mic for a little bit.
Hello.
Kaylee.
Lila and Tim are at a disadvantage. They don't have headphones, so they can't hear themselves or what's happening on the ice, but they're being good sports about it. A little high side for what they wanted, but does remove one of the reds. This will leave Derek a few options. So Lila, how much of the curling have you been able to watch this week?
Kind of next to none. This time of year in school is pretty busy, and so that's kind of sad.
But you're out here this morning, which is good.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
Just when things are about to get interesting.
Yes. Lots of good games to watch.
Who would you say is your fan favorite, if you will, out here? You can have multiple if you want. You just can't say everybody.
Can I give you top 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll go Falco, Kizlyk, and Workin.
Okay, and why?
Gotta go for the hometown teams in Falco and Kizlyk.
Okay.
And then my junior girls coach, Evan Workin. He's great. Puts up with the shenanigans on the team.
He's a very patient man.
Very patient.
All right, so if I were to ask you, who are your top 3 that you think will medal? Does that change your answer?
I think we could still. Okay. I would go Falco, Leichter, and maybe Workin.
Okay, all right. Fair game. Falco and Leichter were in the finals last year, so
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty reasonable bet.
Yeah. Seem to both be having pretty good weeks and look like they're only dropping the loss to Falco and looking like Falco could go undefeated in the pool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Derek tried the hit and roll and kind of ended up nosing it. And Tate, rather than hitting the reds that were sitting 1 and 2, made the little more aggressive play because of a jam risk to make the draw and is now sitting shot. Derek does have kind of an in-off off of his own there on the wing to remove it, but that's really his only chance at removing that yellow rock right now. So I think if I were him, I might be tempted to throw the draw here, but he's going to go for this one now while he has the chance at it. Sweeping for line early. Gets the hit and rolls in, but really just kind of rolls on top of shot rock, leaving yellow sitting 1, sandwiched between the reds.
Yeah, if I'm yellow, I just throw up the guard here and see what they're gonna do with it.
I think Tate heard you. Yeah, the other downside to playing that shot at that point is now the red that you were using for the in-off, even though it's stuffed, is behind the tee, and so they won't be able to use it for another one to kind of chase it.
If this is ever deep and kind of wide, they might be able to do something with it. So.
Weight's looking pretty good. It is, like we talked about earlier, it is cutting over hard in that spot. That is pretty good for what they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's good because Derek's got to rip it next. So, well done.
Normal. Yep. I'm good.
Are they playing the straight rip or the run?
I think there's a chance here to get both of them. If you can hit the one in the top 12 back into the house, it's good, but you got to cut it pretty thin for that. This one's hanging there. Oh, a little too thin almost, just right over the top. Like we said, those hits in the 8-foot tend to hang just a little bit. So Lila, have you ever had a mixed team?
A couple years ago, I played down with Caden Rose and Zoe Busecker and Seth in the MACA playdown. But after that, I played in the Youth Olympic Trials with some folks from the Midwest, May Hagenbaugh, Wesley Henry, and Adam Hine. Both fun experiences. It's always good to branch out from like just girls curling, but it's also nice to go back to it.
Keep going.
What's your favorite thing about mixed?
All the way, hard. All right.
Having some people that are bigger sweepers is always helpful.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. It's a tricky question.
It does change the dynamic, certainly. Tate did make the guard depth weight, but hung it a little bit on the high side. Didn't get as much finish as some of those other rocks had gotten. And so Derek is going to have a chance here to chase this one.
Even if he opens it up pretty well, Tate will still have a shot to maybe sit two.
I think you could make this with probably board. Looks like Derek's probably looking at something closer in the hack range, which is fine. Hack means you're probably not killing your back red, or the yellow for that matter, but you're changing the angles at least, which is, I think, what he's hoping for the most. He does have a shot at a very big end here, depending on how this goes.
Yeah, and they like hack to board.
There's the confirmation, hack to board. Speaking of Evan working on sheet C, he's lining up an angle slash from about a 2.5 into the top of the 4-foot. Trying to do a run double. See what happens there. Sweepers are on and off this one. They make contact with the rock they were trying to, but just a little too thin, so it really didn't change the angles and still leaves yellow sitting 1. Looked like out of hand that was pretty close, just maybe a little aggressive on the sweep call with the holding it for line. Evan makes the run back a little thinner than he wanted, so it does leave red sitting 1, Team Roth, but that was his first, so we'll see if he's got a shot to get 2 here. On sheet A, Team Sherry got their deuce in the 4th, so that is a tie game 3-3 with Team Barajas. Going into the break, Barajas will have hammer in the 5th. So I think the call there was just to kind of plug it up again.
Yeah.
But again, just a little wide from Tate. Maybe could be a difference in how he's releasing versus how his teammates releasing and what that line is doing. But weight was up, but not too much. So
Still managed to tick the first guard over a little bit, so
yeah.
gives him something more to look at.
The challenge with Derek's first is by making contact but not killing it, he's actually kind of taken that shot away from him on his last. So now he's got to throw something a little more aggressive. He's looking at the double run down the middle to score here.
It's always a little nerve-wracking when you're running the other team's stones in, too.
Yeah. His top red is welded pretty good on that yellow, so I don't foresee that one going too far here, but there is a risk. On sheet C, Croy threw up a guard to block the short run for Evan, but it looks like it might still be there at the right weight, so Evan's going to give it a crack. Derek's rock is on the way. Over curling just a hair. We're going to hit it a little too low on the first one and miss the double run. So with that, Team Tobkin steals 1 in the 4th and takes a 3-1 lead into the break, with Kizlyk having hammer in the 5th. While we're on the break, Lila, do you want to share your favorite curling experience from this year?
Okay, that's a tricky question. I have a couple of things. I played with Team Pekowitz out of Broomstones Curling Club for U21s this year. Some awesome girls and just great people to play with. We had a couple ups and downs in the season, but we're really kind of able to make the best of our situation. And one of my favorite moments from the season was probably our first game at U21s, where we played Team Hollands, some awesome girls, and we were just able to kind of start out the week on a pretty positive and light note, and just knowing that we were there to, of course, try to win some games, but also have a good time with each other. And so that game was just a lot of fun.
Very good.
Some good shot making.
I can't believe you didn't say playing on Tuesdays with Bree and I.
That was a very close second. Tuesday team is so fun.
Tuesday team is fun. All right, some quick updates. Evan did not make the short run, so Team Roth gets another steal there in the fourth. So it is now 4-1, Roth over Workin. Workin's going to have Hammer in the fifth, needing to score. And on sheet D, the Stoltz got on the board with 1 in the fourth. So it's 6-1 Falco, who will have Hammer in the fifth. I imagine we'll see the Stoltz get very aggressive with their center guard situations. Try and steal 1 or 2 in the next couple ends. All right, so more fun questions for Lila because we like putting her on the spot and everybody's on break right now. If you could pick one curler in the world for a mixed doubles partner, any just for a weekend, who would it be? She's thinking long and hard about this one, folks, which is good.
Well, part of the problem is my depth of knowledge of male curlers is not good.
Fair and justified.
I don't know. Maybe like Colton Flash. He's been on all of the highlight reels and has a great name. But I don't watch enough men's curling
That's
to
fine.
be able to answer that question.
Colton's a solid dude. I could see that. That could work out. Talk about having a big, strong sweeper.
Yeah.
There's a lot of benefits there.
Yeah.
All right. If you could pick any curler just as a doubles partner, bringing women into the question now.
Oh. I think probably like an obvious answer would be Rachel Homan.
Okay.
Those hits that she makes are so impressive, and then also being able to come back to draw weight. Or Elena Petz, and just like an awesome sweeper and a clutch shot maker too.
I like both of those options. Big Pets fans.
Yes. What was your favorite part of Olympic trials for mixed doubles, Sean?
I would have to say that just the experience and being able to share it with my wife Bree, I think that's probably the highlight for both of us. It's also just it's an incredible honor just to even be in the conversation there. The kind of secondary fun side was the fact that we were at home. And not just, sleeping in our own beds at night, but playing in front of people that we play with and against on the regular. And having that comfortability in the club, I thought was fantastic. So that was a really kind of nice bonus to it.
Sounds awesome to play at the Olympic trials.
10 out of 10 would recommend. All right, so we are bringing it back on all our sheets from the fourth end break. Tate looking for a center guard for Michael. With a 3-1 lead. He still needs to manage this pretty well. You'd love to force Kizlyk to 1 here, come back up 1 with Hammer in the sixth.
Yes. Hammer in the even ends starts to get much more important when we get into the later ends here.
Aaron Stone. Yep, always Aaron. Okay. Yep. Just Aaron. Yeah. Aaron, go ahead.
This come around attempt from Dina is hanging a little bit, so Aaron's going to try and bring it over as much as he can without putting it behind the tee. Puts it just in front of the tee. Great job. Mostly buried.
Pretty good spot.
Tate's going to have Igel follow him down.
Yes, line, hard line. Hard line.
Tight out of hand, so sweepers are on it early.
Scotty. Scotty.
Now they're going for curl. Weight seems to be a touch up as well.
Does the job pretty well moving that stone to the back 8.
Definitely a acceptable miss.
Just back line.
Derek's going to have Dina basically play the same shot that Igel just did, that backline tap weight. See if they can get a little low on it and roll into the middle.
Really hanging out there.
A little heavy as well, so it's just going to whiz right by. Looks like it's solid hack on that one, unfortunately. Gives Tate and his team a chance to make the draw under and really put some pressure on Team Kizlyk early.
Line's close.
Tate likes the line out of hand. Sweeper's indicating it's heavy. Scott seems a little disappointed.
All right, Scotty. All right.
That one also solid hack, so hit reset on those last two and start over.
Yep.
Just rubs that center guard. Does spill through, so opens up shot rock at least.
Guard or come here.
And for both players now with a miss, it's always, of course you're always trying to make your shots, but especially after a miss, it's important to follow up with a make. If not for your self-confidence, but also your team needs it.
You like the draw under here?
I think at this point in the end, I do. For Team Tobkin, the steal is a pretty great result at the end, and so is the force. And I think making Derek and team look at some more rocks in play is not, especially with their lone rock in play being the back house. What do you think?
I think, yeah, it was, Tate was looking at either that or the guard, and I certainly don't mind that. Just a touch deeper than I think they wanted, so it does leave kind of a hit and roll opportunity here. But you don't necessarily want to give Derek a bunch of guards to work with either, so I think coming in is certainly the more conservative option there. There is a double. Tim has joined us back on the bench and is asking. There is a double. It's a little thin. It would leave you sitting behind the guard, which would be nice, but I think Derek, realizing he wants to get multiple here, is thinking if he just hits and rolls in front, he's got a chance at, potentially 3. Whereas if he makes the double, the bigger number might be a little bit harder. Just hung that hit a little bit too much. Ended up nosing.
Control.
So Tate will ask Kaylee to make the low side roll this time.
Yep. Up. Scotty. Hard, Scotty. Really hard. Really hard.
Good sweep trying to get the curl off, but still just a hair low, not low enough to get the roll.
And now Derek's kind of somewhat forced to play this double here just because they walked that front rock up quite a bit.
He could play the double here. He could also try and play kind of the backline tap with the outturn if he was feeling a little more aggressive, but it's the call. Man. A little bit of a back set from Lucy on the release. This one's just going to whip right by.
Draw here. We're going to do this. Or half cover, yeah. We're seeing two.
Tim was asking, can you define back set? And I use that term when you set it back, if you will, on the release. Little inside-outside motion on the release. For reference, on sheet A, Team Barajas and Sherry look to be headed towards a blank over there.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, we got to keep this. Bring this in.
They've been trading hits most of the end.
Up.
The other sheets all have more rocks in play.
Yep.
Pretty good spot.
Really nice draw from Kaylee. It's,
Normal.
there is a double here coming back. Chance to even kind of squirt the shooter into the forefoot afterwards, but definitely pressure's on now.
Dina.
Kind of switch to a plan B here.
That was, in my opinion, it seemed to be just a little bit of an overcompensation for the first one. Trying not to set it. Lucy actually just kind of rolled it a little bit. Derek was hoping to get a little tick off those yellows and get the double the other way, but ended up sliding through that hole. It's unfortunate. That said, they are second shot for sure now. And Tate could try and chase it through that hole, but it's quite risky, so I think it looks like he's just going to play the draw. If he clips one of the yellows, it's not the end of the world. Creates a nice wall up front.
Always a good feeling to be getting in the hack as a last rock throw, and most all of your rocks are above the tee line and the other teams are not.
The blank on A has been confirmed, so tie game 3-3. Barajas retains hammer in the sixth. So Lila, to your point about being a last rock thrower, you've had some experience with that this year. How do you feel about it?
I've never thrown last rocks before, but this year I had the opportunity to on a U18 team out of the MACA region. It is definitely a different headspace, even if you're not in the house. As a second or a third or a lead, you always have like I think subconsciously it's always like, oh, somebody is after me and like they can clean up my mess if I do happen to make one. But as the last rock thrower, you really have to seal the deal, and regardless of if your team set up a good end, then you might have easier shots, but then you're also looking at like, oh, we could get multiple here, but if I flare this out turn, we're going to jam and it's not going to be good. So always having that in the back of your mind is tricky. Definitely last rock throwing is not for the weak. It's not my favorite, but I also don't have a lot of practice at it. It's a completely different headspace, even if you're throwing the same shots, in my opinion.
Oh, that's a really good point. I think it's probably one of the more underrated aspects of the skill involved in curling is the mental fortitude you need in that position.
I completely agree.
There's a reason that the skips name is the team's name, right?
Yeah. It's definitely a different pressure because the glory of the wins and the disappointment of the losses kind of all end up on the last rock thrower skip. So it's definitely different.
So back in the action, Derek called a draw there, trying to at least get to nose on that that yellow, maybe bump it a bit, but was a hair up or a hair wide or a bad combination thereof. So while red is sitting 2 and 3, yellow is still shot.
And with a wall of rocks in front of it too.
Yeah. Tate here has the option. He could play the hit and roll, or even just the hit and roll out, but looks like what he's going to do is draw one in. If you make this draw really good, you could be sitting 2, and if you lock it into the hole there between the red and the yellow, that shot yellow is always jamming on the back red, so it would make the chances of Derek scoring multiple impossible, and even the chances of scoring one very difficult. The miss here, I think, obviously is light. Guard here doesn't hurt you.
Yes, most definitely. It's really hanging out there.
Yeah, he's definitely been getting a little wider on those lines than some of his teammates.
Yeah.
You do not want to leave an in-off here, which I think he's probably safe. That's a pretty steep in-off,
And
but
it's likely jamming.
Derek might have to try and throw it anyway,
Yeah.
given the circumstances he's looking at it. I don't know that Derek can really hurt himself here. On sheet C, Roth working. We have another fistful of rocks in play, so
Almost all of which froze into another rock.
yeah, and all along the middle. So as expected, those teams are getting after it. We'll see what happens with the result there. On sheet D, Team Falco was forced to 1 in the 5th, but that gives them a 7-1 lead now over Team Stolt.
Derek electing to play this in off, probably only for 2, unless you get really pretty lucky with the angles.
Yeah, it's there for 3 if you get
Yeah.
really cute.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Pretty solid weight here from Kizlyk. Sweeper's trying to curl it. And it rolls to the pin for 1. So not the big number they had maybe hoped for, but they at least score, which was kind of the minimum effort they needed there. Couldn't really afford another steal, so good work there from Kizlyk. And while Team Tobkin will have hammer looking to get any score out of the 6th end, Team Kizlyk's in a position now, only down 1. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And sometimes all a team needs is just a little bit of a change in momentum. That big shot being mostly made is certainly helpful for that.
Evan Workin just threw a high-speed in-off, and I think it might have been for 2. We'll see how they post it. Yep, That is a score of 2 for Team Workin with a nice in-off. So a couple of in-offs here on B and C to add some points, but that score is now 4-3. Roth over Workin. Roth with hammer in the 6th. So several tight games out here right now. All right, so Lila, more interrogating conversation. What do you believe the most important trait for a teammate is in curling?
I think like it's super valuable when people bring like their own like individuality and perspectives to a game or to a team and like your games. But I think the most important part is just everyone understanding that each person will kind of deal with the emotions in the game and after a game differently, and just kind of having that empathy for everyone, understanding that like everyone processes things differently.
Empathy with a capital E. I like it. Okay.
Might even be underlined
Ooh.
in a glitter pen.
We're adding layers upon layers. So can't underestimate or stress enough the importance of empathy in a teammate. That's awesome. So Dina makes a good guard. I go a little bit short on the come around, leaving another guard as well. So with the 2 center guards the way they are, Derek is going to have Dina try the draw around.
Line's good. Line's good. Curl now. Curl now. Yep, line's great. Line's great. Yep. Yep. I got it.
Really good judge, really good sweep. Puts a rock half in the top 4.
Great team shot.
Fate having Agel throw the same come around, try and lock onto that red. This weight definitely looks a little better.
2 great shots.
Great shot, yeah. Now that Derek's got shot rock, he's going to throw up the center guard. Knowing what we know about Derek, I imagine there'll be several guards thrown in succession here.
I'll bet.
Lucy? Whoa. Right off.
Weight looks good here. This is the point where it starts walking sideways. So ends up freezing just a hair off nose on the yellow guard there. So Tate really doesn't have any choice but to blow this up at this point. Should be able to double these out pretty successfully and may get a little bit of drag. We'll see.
Yes.
Possibly.
Gotta hit this one a little high side to see if you can get the drag. We're looking really good right now. Oh, a little too close to nose, ends up just shooting it over the top.
Leaving the shooter, unfortunately.
Yeah. So basically the same kind of setup. Derek choosing to kind of draw around it a little bit, use it as a top 12 guard. Sweepers take this down, frozen on the Tobkin yellow rock. So
Pretty good spot.
yeah. All right, what's your ideal call here, Lila?
I might be just playing the nose run.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you could lose both reds.
Yep.
Nose run works. I kind of like the double peel.
That was my other thought.
Yeah. I think the miss is obviously a hair high. Looks like that's where we're headed. Oh,
Just stuffed it.
a little unfortunate there. If it curls up a little bit more, you get the double peel in the rollout.
Yep. But now Team Kizlyk is forced to make this guard a little bit more precisely.
Yep.
So making some progress there.
Yeah, the red rocks are more exposed now, and again with the curl on this side. Sweepers are calling it heavy.
Can we come around it? Aaron. Yep. Yep. Hard. Whoa.
They do get it around there. Back 4 foot weight just kind of loops around. They're now sitting 2. Pretty good result, all things considered. But
Now I gotta do something with this.
Also something that I found interesting, I know we've kind of talked about different throwers or players throwing the rock differently. Lucy's broom was just probably about 3/4 12 there, and Aaron's for the same line
It's
was
like T-weight.
well into the space outside of the 12 foot.
Yep.
So Derek being aware of that is, and knowing exactly where to put the broom is definitely key.
Yep. Yeah, Lucy's certainly throwing with a little more rotation. Aaron traditionally has a pretty soft release coming out, so like you said, pick as long as you know that as a skip and you know what it's going to do. So Tate trying to come in here,
Yes.
change the angles a little bit.
Up. Oh, we're in between. You couldn't make contact with our yellow. All right. That's okay. That's
Successful in changing the angles. That wasn't necessarily the shot he was looking for, but the result is actually pretty good for him. I will say he's going to have to move some red granite here, but he does have a couple of different pathways to score now. So
That even nose run on the center guard, although pretty difficult,
lines.
can yield some good results.
Curl.
Take a shot on it on the left side.
absolutely.
Yeah, you really got to curl.
Derek's throwing the guard here. I think you'd love to even hook a piece
Yeah.
of that center one.
Hard.
Kinda get a twofer.
Hard.
But this one is really hanging out there again from Lucy.
Pretty acceptable outcome.
Does guard the outer half of the rock. There is a hole there with some downwind.
Yep. Electing to play the hole.
Yeah.
Just a touch low. Control. I go. Hard I go.
So they're playing the run a little bit out on this one, so they're trying to bring it over with the curl. Oh, just kind of slides through the hole there and misses everything. So unfortunate miss there.
Team Kizlyk throwing up another guard.
Yep.
But Derek's pretty happy it's on an in-off
Yep.
to save the end.
Pro side it is more open now for Team Tobkin, but Derek sitting 1 and 2 is definitely going to try and cap this off. I think you want it pretty much in the exact same spot it was, maybe a hair left of dead center.
Yep, kind of make that nose run a little bit harder too.
sheet A, they're doing a dance to see who's shot after the final draw. They're both just fractions of an inch off the pin, so they're going to go ahead and measure. Not sure they can get a measuring device in there, but it'll be interesting. Derek does make the guard. It is a little high side of center rather than low side, which I think was not necessarily the miss he wanted. Tate still he could chase through that hole and probably triple out those reds, actually. At least double them. He's not looking at it, though. He's looking for the wide in-turn draw to kind of get the wedge in the forefoot and sit one.
Not even sure if you can sit shot there.
Yeah, it's there, but you got to get some hook at the end. And as we've seen with his have not been hooking as much as some of his teammates necessarily. That said, this is the line to do it on.
Yes.
He does have, if needed, there is the out-turn draw still. I think if I were playing a draw, I might be playing the out-turn. You can definitely get shot that way, but...
So easy to get sucked into one turn in a game, especially when that's all that both teams have really been throwing.
Oh, this one is going. He's going to clip that guard and actually tap it over, and that is going to take away well, not take away completely the out-turn option. It just makes it a little harder. This gives Derek another chance to guard this up. On sheet C, Workin is currently sitting 4. No guards, though, so not incredibly threatening, but Croy, I believe, is throwing his last.
I think he's got one more.
Oh.
Yeah. That I can see.
They did the measure on A, but we haven't seen a determination yet. Well, we missed it at least, so we'll catch the score when they post it, assuming that there was a score. Could have been a draw. I mean, if they can't get the measuring device in.
It's a draw then?
If they can't get it in and they can't tell the difference visually.
Interesting.
Yeah. Basically,
I've never seen that.
It plays like a blank end. Croy tried a double and stuffed it. Yellow is sitting at least 2, maybe 3.
Hard to tell.
Again, not terribly threatening position given there's no guards, but Evan's going to put another one back in the top house and make Croy think about his decisions a little bit. So this is Evan's last. Croy will have one more. Hammer coming afterwards. Tate has elected the same in-turn draw for 1.
Looks even harder than it was on his first attempt.
Yeah. It is still there. If he's at least close on line and wait, he can always bump the red and give up only 1. But this one is hanging way out there.
Might get that lucky tap.
Sweepers are going. Sweepers are going. I think that's good enough for y'all. I did not see. Definitely.
This might be the fluke of the event.
We've got some fans here noting that was absolutely the called shot, and if that, I'll put it to you this way: I did not see that. I think they're gonna measure. It looks like it's tough to tell with the camera angles we have, but they are gonna measure, so we'll see what they come up with there. Either way, even if it's not shot, even if it's second shot, that's an absolutely phenomenal result, all things considered.
Talk about plan B.
As Josh would say, oh, that was dirty.
Yes.
Quite.
She nasty, if you will. Evan did make the top house draw, so Croy, I believe, is throwing a draw of his own against 3 or 4. Just needs to be full 8. So not a ton of pressure. Sweepers are just cleaning it, which means it should be pretty good. And he puts it right on the button. Nice job, Croy. That results in a score of 1 for Team Roth. That will give them a 5-3 advantage heading into the 7th with Workin having hammer. So 2-point game, still within reach. On sheet D, the Stoltz were forced to 1 in the 6th. So that is a 7-2 game in favor of Falco. Something tells me it'll be all-out desperation from the Stoltz over there.
So I know the game on A could determine a playoff spot, but what do the other
Well, thank you for asking.
games look like?
So A and D are fighting for the same third-place playoff spot right now, Stolt and Barajas. If Barajas wins and Stolt loses, as is currently potential, then Barajas would get the spot
In the quarter.
in the quarter.
Okay.
We do have an update on A. The measure went in favor of Sherry, so it was a steal of 1 in the 6th. Barajas has hammer in the 7th, down 4-3. Similarly for playoff spots, really is coming down to Roth and Kizlyk, and the results on B and C will determine who all gets in from that pool as well. So
All right.
something on the line in every game.
And then assuming that Falco gets this win, they'll go in as straight to the semi.
They are through to the semi no matter what at this point by virtue of their win over Team Leichter yesterday. But we'll see. Yeah, there's no games in here where it's like 2 teams fighting against each other necessarily for a level of importance, but
Cross sheet for sure, though.
yeah. I believe if Workin wins this game, they will have the top seed in their pool, so they want to win it because they want to get the bye. So there is a little bit at stake for them in that side.
Yep. Turns a potentially 3-game day into a 2-game day. So
Yes.
that's certainly a big factor.
Massive.
Yeah. And this is the first year where the playoff structure has a quarterfinal?
Yep. Yep. This is the first year they are going to the 16 playoff. So, with that, it looks like Team Tobkin did win the measure. So they take 1 in the 6th to go up 4-2. Eigel throws a center guard to start. And Derek has Dina throw the corner guard, and off we go.
Fight's good. Go ahead, Kaylee, yep. Both of you then. Yep, gotta keep this one moving.
Sweepers are going hard on this one, trying to take it as deep as they can and also get as much curl out of it as possible. It does get probably 75% buried behind their guard, so good shot. It is just top 12 biting top 8, so Derek's going to ignore it for now and make the draw around the corner. The fans loved your answers, by the way, Lila, earlier.
Oh, that's good.
I had been ignoring the chat group, but apologies for all those watching. Thank you for your comments. Well swept there for line, just barely gets by the guard. Does go all the way to the tee line and peeks out a little bit on the other side. It looks like they can probably see half to 2/3 from the hack. So Tate is going to have Scott chase. Well, he was going to have Scott chase. Kaylee sounds like she kind of talked him into the guard here, figuring that chase will always be there later in the end, which is most likely true.
Generally, I'm not opposed to making the team look at more counters,
Yep, yes, yes, yes,
especially
yes.
with a closer game like this. I think once you get a little bit more of a lead, it's not bad to be a bit more conservative, but
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Wise words.
thanks.
So guard goes pretty much where Kaylee had indicated she thought it should go. Tight on the center line. Red is still sitting shot, but good chance for pressure here.
And Team Kizlyk will likely have to do some pretty significant clearing if Team Tobkin can get one wrapped around the center guards.
Definitely. Derek has called the draw around the corner on the wide side for Aaron here. Try and sit on their own. Little Heavy's going to kind of split with their own, so now both are exposed. They are only sitting one as well, so Tate's going to go ahead and have Scott hit this outer one, roll in.
Are they playing the long roll under the centers or just the corner?
He kind of indicated just behind the corner there, kind of in front of the other red, but I think if you get the long roll, you're okay with it. Little wide on the slide, so we're trying to bring it over here. It is going to get low side, which is good. Really good
Nice
roll.
long roll.
And they are now sitting back four, partially exposed, but shot rock.
Pretty good results.
Derek looking for hack weight, try and get through that hole, dig out the shot rock, roll back over by his other one. So Lila, favorite position? Just which one do you gravitate the most towards?
That's tricky. I think probably the one I've played the most and pretty comfortable in is playing Vice. But I also really like to play front end and kind of keep. Vicing is difficult because you're having to do a lot of different jobs and not be able to spend a lot of time on like one. So you're not going to be as good as a line caller as your skip because you're only going to see 6 rocks or 2 rocks instead of 6. But I also think it is an opportunity to kind of get a deeper understanding of, so I know this line is changing weight-wise, so I also know it'll probably change line-wise, so I think that's really interesting. So maybe Vice, but I also really like just playing front end and not thinking. Well, like keeping track of lines, but not thinking.
Yes, us front end players are mostly meatheads. Great. Aaron's hack waiter just over curled there. Derek was kind of giving him tight ice, because I guess that was always the miss, but ended up pushing the guard in and rolling the shooter in. So Tate and Kaylee discussed making a play on one of the reds, but they kind of chose the more aggressive approach here and drew the middle. They were trying to get under that one and kind of tree up those yellows, but it just rubs off a little bit, so they're in a position now, sitting one with 2 rocks in front covering it, but Derek is now going to have Lucy play a little more weight, try and open this up. High side hit, punches it through the hole. And rolls.
Sticking the shooter there is important, though.
Yep.
All the way. It looks really slow.
Playing with fire.
Tate Tobkin is sitting 1 and 3, but without hammer, there's 3 reds also in the house, so it's a little scary at this point for him.
There's not really a good double that does it. It's kind of just hard to remove those.
Yeah, you've got a couple options. You could always hit the top one and the back one, but they're sticking with the game plan of drawing to the middle. This one is certainly heavier than the last that they called.
It's looking like it might be checking up. Yeah.
And
Interesting.
pretty good result. It covers about half of the shot rock, and it's overlapped with that one. And this is not a rock that Derek can remove because it will always come back onto those reds on the wing. So he's going to go ahead and smash this. Sweeping hard early for line. It clips the yellow guard and kills the red corner, which makes that red corner a little tighter now. Skinny corner, I think, is what Simon called it.
And kind of eliminating that out-turn draw,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
What are you doing here if you're Tate Tobkin?
I would not be, I think if you felt confident that you could get the in-turn draw buried, that might be the first thing I would look at, or plugging the hole between those 2 staggered rocks in the center and the corner guard. The only thing is that you can't be too deep, or Derek will have some kind of hit and roll or an in-off.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of whatever you're feeling more confident with. I don't know if there's necessarily a wrong answer. You could also play a long hit and roll off either the front or the top red or the one closer to the tee line.
Yep.
That's also a pretty good option, hitting that 1 and 8 foot. And they each have a timeout left. What do you like, Sean?
There's a lot of options. You kind of described them a little bit. I think with the course of thought that they've been playing so far, I think I'm probably playing either the guard or draw, kind of plugging that hole that you talked about just right of the center line. Mm-hmm. And if it slips in, it slips in. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going to play probably, this is hack weight maybe, and try and kill that red that's second shot and leave himself sitting 4, which is also, that was my instinctive call.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that he's kind of changed his pace a little bit. Ooh, pretty big back set there on the release.
Might be able to get.
Looked like a bit of a wobble on the slide. He's going to hit his own pile here and split things up.
Not a bad result because you're sitting 1, 3, 4, 5. So Derek still doesn't have an opportunity for a really big end unless some things change a lot.
Yeah.
Less than ideal though.
Yep. On sheet A, Jesus Barajas had a draw for 2 that went through the house. So it is a score of 1 for Barajas. That is a tie game at 4 apiece. Sherry has hammer coming home in 8. And we have our first final on sheet D. Team Falco got 1 in 7 with hammer. That gives them an 8-2 lead, and the Stoltz decided scoring 6 was probably not in the cards. So that one goes final.
That means that if Barajas can pull out the win on A, they will have secured their spot in the quarterfinals. If they do not, I think it'll come down to head-to-head,
And-
Stolt versus Barajas.
And Barajas does have the head-to-head on that one. So at this point, my understanding is that with the Stolt loss, Barajas is in no matter what.
All right.
That said, if I'm Jesus and Co., I'm fully expecting a steal here to get some momentum going into that playoff matchup.
Yep. Momentum is huge.
All right. So while we were distracted with the other sheets, Derek tried the run double and hit it just a little too much on the high side. So Team Tobkin is sitting shot. 1 rock. Kizlyk is 2 and maybe 3. It's probably a measure for who's third right now. But Tate is going to kind of go back to his original approach of draw, 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 and just try and draw one in. If this is a guard, he's certainly not upset. But I think you want to put a second one in because you don't want to give him some kind of run or down waiter that could get 2 or 3.
Yep.
So you'd love to see this one half buried top 4. It is a little heavy, so it is running. It will actually tap their own yellow. So it is shot with backing.
Got a double for 3?
But there could be, I don't know if you're ever getting 3 because I think you're losing your shooter, but there's certainly a shot here for 2.
Oh. And yeah, probably for 3 then, no?
We'll see what happens.
Still not an easy shot by any means. There's a lot of things to look at. So you're getting in the hack there. So somewhat nerve-wracking.
Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, that's great too, as long as we get inside.
Just trying to listen to the conversation there. I think this is trying to get to nose with like bumper, I think is the call, but this could also be a control weight slash over the top. Definitely looks like bumper out of Derek's hand. So trying to get to nose, I think. They were on it early for line, and looks like they held it a little too straight.
It's really on move. Oh,
He does make it across the top, and that will be potentially 2 red. Definitely 1, maybe 2. Well, are they going to have a tie game or a 1-point advantage with hammer?
and they're calling for the measure. Oh. In the 7th, Team Workin took 2 against Team Roth, and will look to steal an 8th for the win.
That's a tie game, right? At 5 now?
Yep.
Sweet.
Oh, it looked like, yep, just 2 in the 7th.
Well, we love drama coming down, so that means Team Roth will have hammer in a tie game. Just needing to score their 1. And with the current situation on B, lots of drama for both those games, as the results will likely determine who makes the playoffs and who doesn't.
Yep.
Quick update on sheet A. Barajas and Sherry are in the guard and hit mode right now, respectively. Barajas has a rock in the top button with double centers and a couple of reds adjacent as well. Final measure there on sheet B went in favor of red, so that is 2 red. Tobkin will have hammer coming home in a tie game, tied at 4.
Oh, yeah.
Barajas and Sherry continue their guard peel dance. Sherry just made a peel, so Barajas is putting the guard back. On sheet C, I missed Evan's first guard, but it's not in play, so something tells me it was hogged probably, or through, but likely hogged. Roth came with a draw to the wing that is barely biting the back of the house. So Evan will try the guard again. And on A, Jesus' guard went a little bit deep, so Chris Sherry's going to try a big weight hit that could kill 3 of the guards. We'll see what happens. And back on our feature sheet now with the first rock in play. Dina Rosenberry makes a nice center guard. About a 1.5, so pretty good position. Eigel trying the draw around here. Scott trying to work it over as much as it can. It is open, but Tate knows Derek's not going to chase it, so.
Throwing up that second center.
Yep.
Aiming to get some separation between these two so the double peel is harder.
Line's a little tighter.
You're so good at this.
Yep, yeah, straight. Hard straight. Hard straight though. Hard straight. Okay, whoa now.
Separation.
Yep.
Great pair from Dina.
That is textbook right there.
Yep.
Tate's going to have Eigel try the draw around again, get another one top 4 before they can start peeling. On sheet C, Workin has double centers, and Roth is into the peeling phase. Roth has 2 in the wing as well of their own, so see what happens. And on sheet A, Bras is sitting 2 in the house with the center guard from Sherry.
Just misses the jam on C.
Yeah. Still leaves the
Gets rid
shooter,
of
though,
1.
so chance for Evan to put a second guard up.
Yep.
We've got must-steal situations across the board here, which is what you like to see. 3 tie games all going into the 8th.
If Aaron is able to make this wrap pretty good, they'll be in a good spot. Sweeper's thinking it's heavy.
Yeah, no one's touching this one. Tate will get on it. Takes it back kind of half 8, half 12. So yellow is shot. Just barely full 8. And now that Tate can peel, he's going to go ahead and start ripping.
Looking like just the single peel, but good enough. It's important to just get those rocks going.
There really wasn't much of a double peel option there on that one with how well Dita made those. So
Good job, Dina.
now this is interesting. Derek is calling for Aaron to draw the top 4 here rather than putting that high guard back. think he feels that he's not shot right now and he wants to make sure he gets one in there, but this one has to be good.
Yeah.
Where are we?
Because if you're ever just like back button and well, even that, like, there's always a double on these. Not an easy one, but certainly one.
And that's about as good as you need to make it. Top button, hair off center. Tate's going to take this opportunity to peel the only other guard. Make sure he's got a clear house to work with.
Yep, yep.
Do this on here.
Might grab that second one. Oh, it just does not.
I think if I'm Derek, I probably would have put the high guard back again, knowing that you just got to keep wasting his rocks, and then make that move. But Derek's also played a lot of games himself, so might be leaning into this. They are certainly throwing the guard now.
Yeah. And even if Team Tobkin did decide, if like Derek would have thrown the second center, and Team Tobkin did decide to wrap, even if they made it perfect, you can always tap and then leave yourself 2 guards and sitting shot with backing,
Yep.
assuming everything is made.
Yeah, especially with the swing that we're seeing out here. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Line's good. Whoa.
See if Lucy's able to execute as well as Dina on this.
Sweeping's been kind of on and off, so it's got to be somewhat close.
Pretty great spot.
It does show a piece. You can make this a few different ways.
And it's a little tight to the house too, so the double is a touch more feasible. Still
Yeah.
very difficult.
Tate's thinking just straight peel. So
Probably what I would have called too.
see what Kaylee's got here.
Yes. Hard.
Especially with Team Tobkin sitting second shot. That's a huge benefit because later in the end, if Tate does have a rock that he needs to hit, he can roll out and still
Right.
be fine.
And having the benefit of an angle slash there.
Yeah.
That one was unfortunate. Just kind of
Yeah.
rolled it coming out of her hand, and that one got away from Kaylee. So the flash there gives Derek a chance now to put up a second guard, high guard.
If you leave it a little bit on the right side of the center line, it's a great spot. Sweepers are way off it.
All right, go. Aaron. Straight.
This one being a little heavier than they wanted. They were trying to take it around. It just rubs the guard. Ultimately ends up as a little bit of a biter there. Pretty good result, all things considered. It still achieves the goal.
The double peel's hard right now.
If I'm Team Tobkin, I think this double peel is looking pretty appealing to me. Those rocks are really not that far apart, so
Yeah.
a little more margin for error. What do you like here?
I agree with you. I think the double peel is a call. Tate did indicate that he did not like the double peel. He said it's a little bit hard, so I don't know if that's just something with how they play or how they throw, but he's not feeling as great about it. So same call as the last one. If he gets both, great.
Yeah,
She did not roll this one in. This one has been set back quite a ways.
might have a little
Might have this.
roll.
It's going to roll in. It's
Yeah.
definitely low side.
Well, that's
That does leave Tobkin sitting 2 and 3, but unfortunately there is now a heavy amount of granite in the middle protecting Derek's shot rock.
is Derek just electing to throw the center guard here, or
If I'm Derek, yes, I'm throwing a 1 guard here.
do you ever leave it just like a little bit on the left side of center to make the draw a bit harder?
Yeah, I think I just.
Oh, that's what he's doing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I think that's a great call, right? It optically changes things a little bit. No, I think that's a great call. Anything touching center over the hog line though is going to be really good here.
Tate still having that lone yellow, somewhat cornered guard on the left side of the screen there, could tap that in like the 6th.
It's pretty much the same line.
Yeah. surprise the viewers. Over on sheet C, Team Roth has done a good job of keeping it very open, and Evan will have to make some things happen here.
Yeah. Looks like Evan's trying to draw around a red corner to at least sit shot for now. It is a high guard, though, so very diggable, anything in the house.
And Team Roth is sitting too, so they're not really worried about losing their shooter if they do choose to dig it.
Yeah. Good guard there from Derek. Just touching the center line on that high side. Tate's going to try and move multiple rocks here. Tate does still have the in-turn draw on his last if needed. All right, on sheet A, Jesus Barras' last guard attempt on his last rock went deep and over curled, so they are sitting 4 in the 4-foot, but this does leave Chris Sherry a pretty reasonable hit for 1 and the win, so we'll see what happens here. On our feature sheet, Tate just gets the 1 red, so Derek calls timeout.
Likely throwing the same guard.
It's interesting, right? Like if you throw the same guard, it leaves Tate the in-turn draw.
Right.
And it's a very tough draw, but it is there for the win. You basically have to grab the pin.
Even if he makes the draw really well, Tate might still have the like red, yellow, red tap run thing, but that's just very difficult.
Yes, agreed.
I would much rather guard the draw, I believe.
I think if you guard the draw path, it does leave him a shot, but it is a tough shot.
Yeah.
On sheet A, Chris Sherry's last rock makes contact where he wanted to, but actually just spins up a little bit on the deflection and leaves Barajas sitting 1 for the win. So that game goes final 5-4 Barajas.
Is Derek electing to just throw the same center guard here?
It looks like he is playing just the same center guard.
All right.
Will leave Tate the draw, which, given that Tate just threw the hit, you're probably less worried about that. Evan, with his last, is trying to draw full 8 behind the red corner guard for cover. It is shot rock.
And looks buried.
Croy will have to dig that one out for the win.
Aaron, go ahead. Get a girl. Yep.
Team bringing this one over.
Till stops. Yep.
It is there, so Tate will call his timeout. I think he's got to play the draw here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Unless you want to play the triple run, which, listen, I'm all for a big weight hit, but I think it's got to probably be the draw for the pin here.
Yep.
Croy must be able to see a little bit more of that shot rock than the camera angle indicates, because he's throwing decent weight at it to pick it up.
Yep.
Sweepers are on it. And they're by. And it's made.
Score of 3 for Team Roth, and with that, they'll take the win.
They will take the win. So that will shake up that pool quite a bit. That will catapult Roth, I believe.
I think it will come down to.
Well, I think that win puts Roth, I believe, into the 1 seed.
Yeah, it'll go to. Working as the DLC.
No, because they'll only have one loss.
Oh, you're right.
So yeah, so that win puts Roth into the 1 seed for that pool. A loss could have put them out of the playoffs altogether, but
Wow.
the win gives them the 1 seed. That drops Workin into the 2 seed
Because they have a head-to-head on Persinger.
because they will have the head-to-head on Persinger. And, well,
Right?
oh, well, no, that could, it depends on if Kizlyk wins here. If Kizlyk wins and Tate's Rock is coming in, and it's heavy. So that will be a win for Kizlyk.
Yeah, but they have like the little green thing. Doesn't that mean they're qualified?
So Kizlyk wins. So just for standings updates, Roth will finish the pool at 4-1 in first place. Workin, Persinger, and Kizlyk all finish 3-2. But Workin beat both teams, so they're in. And Persinger, by virtue of their win over Kizlyk, will then get the 3rd seed as well.
Holy moly.
So Kizlyk goes 3-2, but loses to the 2 teams they were tied with in Workin and Persinger. And that loss, or that win, despite the win, will eliminate them from the playoffs today with the win by Roth. So that'll be, the final standings will be Roth, Workin, and Persinger in Pool B, and Falco, Leichter, and Barajas in Pool A. Eric Jensen, would you like to say anything after your win? Weird, he's walking away. Can't imagine why. So, with that, thank you everybody for joining us today. We will be back at 2 p.m. Mountain Time this afternoon for the 2 quarterfinal matchups. Lila, always a pleasure. Wonderful job.
Thanks, Sean.
Was this your commentating debut?
Yeah.
Hey, we're getting better. Until next time, folks, take it easy, and we'll see you back here in a few hours.